When they hit my house, I had 27 motorcycles, 10 cars, had a full-on chop shop going on in the garage. When I'm sitting there on the cell phone inside the prison system, and I got people driving up, and I got them on the cell phone, and I'm directing them at every step they need to do. There is no better rush. I loved it. Horrible, right? That's all I knew in my life, though.
Yeah.
Parents were married until I was 5. My dad was an alcoholic. My mom was a drug addict, and it seems like that maybe that those two don't mix as a couple. My sister and I stayed with my mom, and my mom continued to do drugs. And so, like, having a drug addict as a mother or an addict household, it was just like I go to school and I show up at home one day, and there'd be a guy on the couch. And that'd be my mom's new boyfriend that she probably met at the bar. There'd be fist fighting and drinking. I remember me and my sister being in the back of the pickup truck. They'd be fighting in the cab up in the front, throwing punches, throwing blows. And your kids in the back of the truck screaming, thinking they're going to crash into a tree or something. And I was one of those kids that and all this stuff happening at the home. And then I would just go to school and have to act normal and just have to blend in with all the rest of these kids.
Where's your dad? Is he coming around at all?
I do vaguely remember the visits with my dad. And I remember the day that he came and I had this choice. He's like, you can come live with me and get away from all this. And which my sister was like, yeah, I'm going to go live with you, Dad. And I stayed with my mom, and I continue in that misery. As a kid, and I'm tall, and so I just got to be able to stay in this conflict of life of my mom and guys and boyfriends and abuse and the drugs. Like kids would come to my house to stay the night because I had no rules. I'd leave in the morning, come back at night. I like to have friends that had stuff like food at the table, some clean clothes that maybe I could wear, and all this stuff, because all that daily household stuff wasn't getting met at my household unless it was like the 1st and the 15th when she got her check. But even then, towards the end, that was even making it. I mean, there was times as a kid, like my mom would be with these guys and the drugs and the money be all over the place, but most of all, there'd be guns around, and she would. And like they'd be fighting so hard, and there would be times that she'd grab a gun and she'd be pointing it at the guy, and like if the safety wasn't on, like my mom would have just shot him. Or I'd walk in, my mom would be getting raped by guys and all this stuff, and I really felt like there was nothing I could do as a kid, like because I was so little that they just throw me around. And I finally got to a point in my life where I grew up quick, and I was looking these guys in the eyes, and so at that point there was no more. You weren't going to abuse my mom or nothing like that no more. At this time, my mom, like what she starts doing, she starts dating her connection. Her connection became my father figure, because I don't talk to my father. I see him vaguely. I go to his house and visit. My mom finally gets picked up, maybe for warrants. I remember we get pulled over. My mom gets picked up. Maybe they found drugs. Maybe it was a warrant. And it probably was a warrant, or probably was drugs, but whatever. I go from where we were living. I move into with my grandma. And my grandma lives in town, and like I sort of lived off in the outskirts of town in like this little secluded area to where like we're drinking pints and smoking weed and the change happens. 8th grade, I get introduced to I meet this guy, and this guy is a full on. He's older. He's like 10 years older than me, and I'm big, so I'm not like your average size. So I'm like I'm a big kid,
right?
And I'm walking the dogs with my mom. My mom gets out of jail. She's like on this different path. She's living with her mom, and I meet this guy, and I think I'm just like this guy. I'm just like this boy who wants like this role model in his life, and my mom's connection has been like my role model for the longest time. Like I've been watching him sell drugs. I knew what drugs are. Like they were happy in my household. My mom would come and bring me stuff, and like my friends would sneak over, and I'd be like, hey, you guys all want to do lines? And we all do lines, and then we just go ride our motorcycles all night, and we drank pints of liquor, and then I watched this guy, and what it is he'd tell me things that I didn't know. He taught me how to use a broom and mop a floor, and he'd teach me that, like if you use a dish, wash a dish. And these are all things that I learned later on in my life. I didn't know like what he was teaching me. It was like the whole time he was like training me for prison, and it just got worse. By the time my freshman year in high school, I was full blown. I was like that something happened in that summer from 8th grade into the beginning of freshman year in high school. And back then, like we checked ourselves into high school, and I was already learning how to wrap up, make bindles, and make this little bit of side money by selling drugs. This guy that lived like two doors down from me, he was an active gang member, and I just went right under his wing. And I remember sitting there one night with this guy in his house. I stay up all night at his house. My house was full. My household was full. My household was like this. It was my grandma, my uncle, my little sister, my nephew, and me in this one bedroom little spot like that. Like everybody, like really no space or no privacy. Like
right.
And then there's a guy next door that like it seems like he has stuff going on, and he teaches me, and I learned this flow of how to make a couple dollars by selling drugs. And I remember sitting at his house that one night, and there was a knock on the door, and it must have been like this guy just getting released out, and like everybody just looked at this guy, and like it was just like he was just like such a big role model to everybody in the room. Everybody just like stood quiet. He came in large and in charge and walked through, and everybody gave him this really good respect. I still see it. It's still clear as day right now. And I love that. And I love that. I started selling drugs.
And this is 15.
This is 15 years old, and I took off from home. 15 years old, Christmas break, and I took off from home, and I started staying on the streets. I used to, I at first it wasn't like I go out there and I'd be gone for like two weeks at a time. 1 week, then 2 weeks, and it'd be a month.
Okay, are you still going? You're still going to school?
Dropped out of school's out. Yeah,
I mean, when you say selling drugs, are you like going like a street corner, like
apartment complexes and street corners, and hanging out with just the clientele. So there's like a street that has apartment buildings on both sides, multiple units, and you just sort of just run through all of them night and day, hang out at the Circle K right there on the corner, and just sell all day long. And,
you have like a pager. What year is this?
This is, I don't even have a pager at this time. Okay. Pagers are just, I think what I did have a pager at this time. This is like 94, 95. Okay. And the pager, and then the pager comes out, and Motorola brick phones, and that lifestyle starts for me, and I delve in. It was like all I knew, and I liked being in these apartment buildings and selling drugs to the night of day, and like I make the laundry room like my little office, and people just would come through and all this stuff, and all it is like my mom's connection became my connection, so I was able to just go get large amounts from him, break it all up, and then I just go in there and sell it, and then one day I showed up at home, and I told my mom that she can buy her drugs from me now on. She doesn't have to buy them from nobody else. And then not only that, she became my mom, but she became my using buddy for me.
I mean, are people getting busted, or do you ever get busted?
I don't get busted at this time. No, I'm too fresh in the game to really notice it. I know this is that I started messing with this guy that I met in the apartment John, that lived next door, and he's rolling around. So like I'm in I remember like my freshman year in high school, I'm going, and like these guys are well above graduated, and like they're bringing me and dropping me off at school, and like they're blasted back with tattoos and 6'4" Impalas. It's the whole thing. Going to like high school parties and like beating up people. Like so, like right. Your reputation is coming, and what I do is I start hanging out with these people nonstop. That's the life I went into. And by the time I don't get busted until like 17 years old, I get picked up for a GTA, and it wasn't like nothing ferocious. As I was out in those apartment buildings serving for as long as I could, and I wanted to go home and get some rest. And I remember that one of the guys parked a stolen car over there on the side street, and I went and grabbed that stolen car, and I wired it up, and I drive it, and I missed the wire and had no brake light, so I get pulled over, and I go to YA. I'm in there with this little slap on the hand, turn around type thing.
What's YA?
Youth Authority.
Okay.
I'm not 18 yet, so I can't go into the county jail. And I go in this little trip in a YA. I get some community service and kids programs and stuff like that. And I don't finish it. I don't do it. Like the need for the streets to pull me in, but I'm getting ready to turn 18. I know a lot of people from what I've been doing for the past 3 years. This is when people start getting busted. Is like the guys I'm hanging out with is we're doing too much and stuff's happening on the streets. We're getting busted, and we're pulling guns on people. We're going out there collecting money and doing what we need to do, and it seems like I'll never forget, man. I was out there. I was on a bicycle. Friends of the guy that I sold for, man. He was driving by in this Astro van, and I remember, like I'm a kid, I'm a big kid, but I remember he seen me riding my bike down the street, and he grabbed me and he threw me in that van, and they took me out in the middle of the desert, man, and he squared up with me and made me fight him. I don't know why, but because they thought I was putting a needle in my arm. For whatever reason, they just wanted to, maybe just to show that inferior, maybe to put that scare. Like I don't know, to see if you were down, if you were going to fight, or if you were scared or nothing. I'm out in the middle of the desert. I'm scared for my life. As a kid, I'm sitting there with this guy, and I'm like, get up, and he's rushing at me, get up, and it's terrifying. And then he takes me back over to the brother's house, and at the brother's house, he's a big guy. He's out there. He's doing the deal. These guys are doing their manufacturing amphetamine, and it goes from speed to crystal comes out. Like I'm no longer like selling weed or anything like that. It's all about selling crystal, man. And we go in, and I'm watching these guys, and they give me whatever I needed at any time, and just, man, this lifestyle started, and I no longer did anything with my mom's boyfriend, anything like that. I'm hanging out with white Peckerwood gangsters that run the streets, and as they get busted or die,
Mm-hmm. And you're still 17 years old?
I'm about 18 years old now. 17 years old comes at this time when that thing happened I was probably about 16. At 17 years old, I did that little YA thing, and at 18 years old, I'm just before I turn 18, because on 18 years old, I get my own place. At 15 years old, I got my own place. At 15 years old, I got my first car. I don't even have a driver's license, and I don't have nothing. I'm just I pay for it with drugs, and I'm out there just ripping and rolling around in this car, no longer on a bicycle. At 18 years old, I move in with this girl, and it gets bigger, and the dealing gets bigger, and on the higher, and then at the age of 19 years old, it gets like guys really start getting picked off. But I do a little stint. I do some jail time, and
for what?
Stolen cars, sales.
Or you're
nothing big, dude. This is like a little turnaround, and what happened is that it's nothing but like that first introduction into the county jail, where I go to this processing. It's scary. They throw me in the 9,000 hall. It's scary. I'm big, but a lot of people know me from that. So like I get pulled into the right places. I hang out with the right people. And I get let out man, thinking that was nothing. It was nothing. I might have been scared the whole time I was in there. You fight when you fight. You don't do this. You don't do that. I'm here on this thing, and this is what happens. It seems like all those guys that whose tails I was on, or who I was selling for, and who I was watching do their thing. It seems like they all single-handedly get busted, and it seems like my time comes up to the top of the ladder, or to that somewhere on that ladder, I have to make it even the ground. And since I've been watching them manufacture amphetamine and doing all this stuff, like I get my hands into it, and so it begins, and I get my hands in and it just like and it's like the rush, everything about it was just like enriching, and the to cook a batch, to rip it down in a house, to blow out a kitchen into the garage, from the garage to the kitchen, and do all this stuff to learn.
What are you talking about?
I manufacturing, I set up a lab inside the garage of a house. And at first I really didn't know how to mix chemicals. I'm sort of just like, air shouldn't hit at this time. You're checking your pH balance and stuff. And like one wrong twist or tape the airtight, and boom, it just blows it right up from the garage into the kitchen. It's a rental house. I'm just like, and everybody's like, oh my God, what's going on? And like, you just like, you go to another house, you set up the same thing, you do the same stuff, and it finally goes smooth. And when you run for like 5 or 6 months, and in that time you have enough, you go to the next one, and then you go to another spot, then you get a trailer, and we start cooking in a trailer in the middle of the desert, and it just keeps on. I remember I had some friends. I mean, friends of mine are dying out there, but I remember like sitting out in the berm. Like I have a house out in a sort of like a secluded area in the middle of the desert. It's a decent place, and I'd be so sketched out drugs, just thinking that I'm gonna get busted, right? I'd be sitting there with a pager, cell phone, right, in the middle of the desert, watching my own goddamn house, and just paranoia. And I get busted, dude. I get busted, and
how did that happen?
I beat up this guy, which happened to be a guy that put hands on my mom. I beat him up pretty bad. I made him walk, stripped him on the streets, took his shoes, everything, and his underwear, made him walk down the street. And at the same time, I was cooking at my house. And
so you beat him up, made him strip.
So what happened is I was cooking for the past few days, and then like I always stop by my mom's house, and I give her some on my way out to drop some off. And when I show up to my mom's house or my mom's trailer, she has a black eye, and he comes walking out, and he kind of like pushing up on me, and I'm with a partner of mine, and I just take off. Man, my mom turns around, I see the eye, and I don't like that stuff in any which way possible. I don't like it. Just since I was a kid, I've been growing up with all this, maybe the trauma or whatever, and so I beat him up pretty bad, and all the way down the street, make him walk out this complex, and still to this day, this is just what I think. This is just my opinion of what I think what happened. I think that after I beat him up and I went away, and I gave some drugs to my mom as I was going to go drop off more drugs out there in the desert, and I get back to my house that night, and I get in my garage, and my partner's there, and some other people are there, and I think that he called the cops or something happened, right? And then and maybe they came to my house looking for me because of that. But what they found is, and I just remember pulling up to my house, and I see my friends El Camino pull up, and I'm like, damn, that's Shorty's car. And I walk out my garage, and it's just the cops, and they got me for arsenal, white supremacist gang member, arsenal, chop shop, drugs, sales, and
but not the manufacturing.
My charge was manufacturing, but since they didn't find no finished product, what they found was a vehicle out there in the driveway, which I just got done. So I had a vehicle, and a friend of mine, our partner of mine, was supposed to dump it, and had a plan, but the plan didn't always go through. So I have this truck out in the driveway with a couple barrels of waste in it, plastic from a room, hoses, kitty litter, and all this stuff in the bed of it. So what they get me for is, I'm fighting it. What it is it gets me for they get me for intent to manufacture instead of a manufacturing charge. I end up on a 4-yard at the age of 21. And I go to prison. I do a few years, and in prison I meet these guys, and I feel like I arrived. I feel like all that training I did with the mom's boyfriend of him showing me the dishes, or him showing me like, hey, when I sweep or when I mop, like he'd be like, this is the life you're gonna have. Like it all made sense now. And so I'm on the tier. I'm pushing a broom with a wick. I'm going around lighting your cigarettes, and when I get the shot collar there, he maybe it's because I'm tall, my size or whatever, he picks me up. Hey, come be my cellie. I become his cellie, and I learn the ropes even on a deeper level on the 4-yard of prison. And that's it. Your back, I got your back, he got my back, and it's
like, can we go back to when you get arrested?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you get arrested.
Yeah.
Like, and your lawyer, like, what are they trying to give you? Like, I mean,
they're trying to give me they're trying to get me for manufacturing amphetamine, arsenal. I got multiple weapons and all this stuff. White supremacist gang member. Gang, it's gang association just for of stuff I have around there and the people I'm hanging out with.
Right.
And the GBI, which is the beating the guy up, and chop shop. I have multiple stolen cars there, and I have them chopped up all inside the barns, and everything that stuck was they got me for the guns. And they got me for the intent to manufacture. They couldn't get me for manufacturing because they never found no finished product. All they found was all the stuff it takes to make it.
Right.
So they couldn't get me for, so it dropped it down to intent. And then they got me for the GBI, right? And I fight it for a little bit, but I'm guilty.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, no, but you get what, a public defender?
A public pretender.
Right. What are they trying to give you though? Initially, what are they trying to give you? Like 10 years?
I don't
15?
know. I really don't know. Since I have one prison prior. Or I have a couple priors in the YA thing. Like they're coming at me pretty deep with the manufacturing because that carried like some time. And then and the gang association carried some time, but like the major things didn't stuck. And what happens is I get like 3 with 80. Right. So
I mean, were you scared? Because by that point you're over it.
No, you're not scared. You're not like at this time. Like it's just like it's my time, and maybe I just needed a break. Maybe like I was out there running so hard, and the thing is that it didn't stop for me. Like I like that right there, like that point. Like maybe most people would stop or something. Like from that point on, like maybe that was like a peak for me. I remember the day like I went to my mom's trailer and like I've been gone for a while, and so like I all of a sudden I show up there. I have like this brand new 3000Z car, and then I got like some money, and I felt like, and I blessed my mom, and drugs, whatever she needed in a way, and I just feel like you really feel like the top of the world at those times.
Right.
Everything's going right. Even though everything's going wrong.
Right. I was just saying.
Yeah, it's not everything was going wrong.
So when you end up in prison,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're not worried about being sent to a level 4. Like that's it. In that, what is it? Is it 5 levels or 4?
4 is the highest level you can go to. And
why would you go to? Why go? Because of the guns?
Because of the guns and the great bodily injury.
Okay.
And so so it gives me a strike. And so that what like and then the GTAs and all the chop stuff, like I couldn't get no camp, I couldn't get nothing. I'm stuck on the 4 yard. Like I'm not like going to camp. I'm not doing no like I'm not going to a minimum yard and getting no gate passes. I'm in a 180 4 yard like
what's 180?
That just means that it's shaped like a 180 yard. They got 370 is a half, and then a 180 is like this. And I started like you go into places like that, and you get in there, and coming from where I come from, like that's like what I would and that means you're somebody to me. Like you go into a 4 yard or coming from a 4 yard, like that the respect you got is way more than a minimum yard or a 2 yard or a 3 yard. But like if you coming from a 4 yard, that means you're about something or did something to me. I mean, that's my opinion. And
well, when you, like you said, when one guy got released from prison, like people are looking at him like it's a badge of honor. Right?
It was actually you're a badge of honor. Like you earned these stripes in the streets. Like you did something worthwhile or like whatever it is. And that guy that came in became a good friend of mine. And being young on a 4 yard is just and I was humongous. I go in skinny. All of a sudden I'm eating food and I'm working out. I'm humongous, and I'm hanging out with this guy that has a yard, and I do my time. I get out, and now I just start with this life. Now I can't stop staying out. Like I get out and I chase that high of now it's like people who owed me money and all this stuff. So like I had like a motto of like I didn't want to sell to nobody who didn't have a job or wasn't out there. I looked at people who were like if you were just like out there panhandling or I didn't want to sell to you. Like I sort of like treated it like a job and so I get out and
that's because what? These are the people that have the ability to pay?
Exactly. Yeah, they have money, right? It's a difference selling 20 now. Yeah, I mean, I started selling 20s at the age of 14 years old. Like, you're going to be selling 20s at the age of 21. No, you want to sell ounces. So now you figure that, damn, if I sell more, I get paid more, right? So here it is. Like, damn, if I can just cut the source off, I'm tired of working for you and for you and for you. Like, if I can just make this stuff myself and just work for me and sell it, man, that's 100% profit, right? So here you go down this chain to make that happen, and all of a sudden it becomes your thing. That does happen.
So when you were locked up like that first time, well, this is the second time, but nobody you hung out with told you, hey, maybe you shouldn't go back to this life. Like, hey, maybe you should try and do something. Nobody, because there's just nobody.
Even if they did say that to me, I probably wouldn't have heard it, because I absolutely just got more connections. I got more tipped up, more like everything and at this moment, like and then I get out, like I couldn't wait to get out, because now I'm going out trying to be right where I left off. And you get locked up, you just lose your turn out there on the streets. And so and the riots, I remember like my first riot, my first couple, I was scared, man. Like those were things like we could die right now. Yeah, like we're in the chow hall. Like, you're going to the chow hall. It's going to kick off. You don't know what's going to happen. You're strapped up. Like they're firing the gun at people right there. You're on the yard, and some stuff's going to happen. And like those are scary times. Like you do have fear. Like you do. I pray to a God. Like fuck, man, just keep me safe during this. I know it's going to happen. You have this relationship with your cellie to where it's like our back, my back. Like we watch each other's back no matter what type thing, and I never lost faith in my cellie. Like I knew for a fact that like and maybe that's what really like kept you strong there too. Is like you knew like this guy, and like and the same way like that brotherhood between us is like it's solid,
right?
And I loved it. Horrible, right? That's all I knew in my life, though.
Yeah.
So I mean, to a guy that knew nothing else, that's it, man. I'm getting out. I get out from this term. People owe me money. I'm on parole, man. Like I'll tell you what I did do is guys that stole from me owned car lots.
Right.
I took every car on their car lot, except for one.
Because the guy, he couldn't pay.
Because he was ignoring me. Yeah. So I was like, all right, cool. I took all 28 cars on a used car lot on one night, and how
does that work?
I had a lot of planning.
Right.
A partner of mine and a lot of planning, and I went after this guy because he owed me the most money. And it was like he skipped town, but I knew people were like, you just word on the streets type stuff, and how to work is man, it worked pretty damn good. I just went there. Cars were my thing, so I already knew what I had to do, and I remember when what they really wanted me for is I took their tow. I mean, I took everything, tow truck. I didn't care. It was whatever, every car they had, but this van. I left this van there. I just took the wheels off it, man, and I didn't do it to take. Like, I didn't do it because I needed all the cars. I didn't give a F about those cars, honestly. I sold those cars for $100 or $50, or you need parts here, I'll give you a whole car. But I did it to prove a point to that I'm coming for you because I pay me my money.
Right.
And yeah, that was a good times. I did a couple other things out there too to prove a point. I just
So where do you store 28 cars?
I was just thinking out
I'm
in the
gonna
desert.
I'm gonna tell you this. This is how it goes. Is that like I had for every car, like I sort of planned it over a week and a half or 2 weeks. And so 4 cars would go to this spot, 3 cars would go right here. These cars would go right here. And I sort of had it laid out of just going in, breaking in, and whether I had keys already made for it, or I had a new ignition to plug into it, or I'm busting the steering wheel or whatever, like whatever needed to be done. Like I knew exactly where the car needed to go. And some of those cars went into down the street and just parked down the street until I can get them later. Some of them went to destinations. The better of the cars went to the destination where they needed to go to get me money. Right. And
they're already sold.
They're sold. Yeah. That's sold. Boom, boom, boom. And like the tow truck I kept, and what did happen is they had a garage in the back of this. It wasn't a brand new car lot. It was a used car lot.
Right.
And in the back of it, they had this shop, and I'm on drugs. I'm high. I'm with a partner of mine, and I want to get in there. Like I know something's worthwhile in this thing, right? And he's like, man, you're taking too long. You're making too much noise. Like everything's done, and like the sun is like getting ready to like that crisp glow is coming over the horizon, and I bust in the shop. And there's an Eleanor Mustang, a Boss 427 Mustang in there, dude. And I'm spending way too much time trying to get this started and kill switch, because this is the only car I haven't seen. And I get this car and I smash out the parking lot, man. It's so much power, like I lose control. Like I pull out on the gas and like it spins out, and I go off, and I kept that one car. I kept it because why? Because I get high and I go out and I go to legal street races with this car, and I race it and and I park it at this trailer park and cover it. And later on down the road, I'm still doing the thing. It's like I'm out to get people. I'm out collecting money, and I figure I can't manufacture nothing right now. And of course, I got people that hand me drugs just because of who I was in the past. And I get a letter on the car one day, and it says, if you want to sell this car, please call me. And I have all these DUI classes and stuff, because I still, to this point, I never had a driver's license my whole life. I do not. By this time, I probably have 140 traffic tickets. I never had a driver's license my whole life. I lost cars because I just charged them to the game. Because when you're selling drugs, I just get cars from people and just be like, hey, and they get towed. I get pulled over, it gets towed. No big deal. I get another one. I lose. One day I lost like 4 cars in one day. No big deal, right? And I'm laying in the bed one night, man. I'm like, I need money. Like once again, like the cops they're harassing me, I always say. And I called this number, and this guy's like, hey, he's like, I'm like, look, dude, the car is as is. It needs back tires, right? And but it's as is. I don't have no paperwork. You can use it for parts type thing. And he's like, sure, meet me there at 12 o'clock tomorrow. But of course, my time management doesn't ever work. And what it was a detective that left that thing on the car. And what it was is that it goes back to the guy who owned that car lot, found that car, and now they're looking at me. He wants his tow trucks back and all this stuff. And I kept a truck so I can go dirt bike riding, and I went dirt bike riding. And
wait, so you never showed up at
showed up, man, and the cops towed it. And,
okay.
I had eyes on the car, and now they're sort of like hitting every house I'm at. The cops are looking for me. My mom's house, they're looking for me. I can't go there. So I always have this little hideout of this girl, like who I got hostage, and staying at her house because her house is like hidden. And I'm getting foul with I'm going to a couple of my friends' houses. I want to call some guys over, and I want to like really beat these guys up pretty bad. Plastic in the doorways. Guys that owe me money. I'm on a collection. Like I know I'm going back to prison. I want to collect, and so I'm with this girl, and like I'm letting her know that, hey, the cops are looking for me, and I'm going back to prison, and everything's not looking good, and she's like, what are you going to do? I said, well, this weekend I'm going motorcycle riding. And then I'll clear my head and I'll come back. And I have this truck that belongs to this guy. And I actually have a car that belongs to me. And I go motorcycle riding. And I got back. I dropped my friend off. And I called my mom. And I was like, hey, Mom, I'm going to come over. I'm getting busted. I'm coming over. I'm getting busted.
Right. You just want to see her before you go.
Hey, yeah. Can I get a home cooked meal?
Right.
Type thing. Can we get high most of the time? And my whole idea was this: is that I was going to take that truck and that I have that belonged to him, and I was going to drive it out have a tow dolly that I connected on my car, and I was going to connect the tow dolly to the truck, and I'm going to drive out to the middle of the desert, to the side of the road, whatever, gasoline, light the truck on fire, and then drive my over to my mom's house while that burns.
Right.
And as I'm hooking it up, the cops, all I hear is the brakes of the cops and the helicopter and everything, and they bust me one more time. And they try to give me 47 counts of GTA. And since the guys like was like connected to the city and the mayor and all that stuff, it wasn't good. It wasn't good for me. So here I go on another term in prison. So here I am. I'm busted. I got 47. They're getting me with 47 counts. I remember as I got busted right then and there. This is crazy. I get busted then and there. I'm cuffed up. I'm sitting on the curb. They're raiding my buddy's house at the same time. That has he doesn't know what's going on. He just thinks that I just went dirt bike riding with my friend type thing. They're hitting his house, and And I remember that last phone call to my mom, and I also remember when I was sitting there and I'm back to the cop car, and I remember my mom driving by, and I really think that the cops were that the cops wanted me so bad that they were waiting for me to get a hold of my mom in order to catch me, and here I go, another prison term, and
how long was that?
It was the same thing, 3 with 80. So it was nothing. 3 with 80. You go there. I think my second was a 4 yard again, 4 yard, 4 yard, and
when you get there, are the same people still
dude,
there?
I literally was out of jail. I wasn't long, and I literally went to. I didn't really fight nothing at all. I went there and just got my time because I didn't want to stick in county jail, because county jail was just. It was like the small ship before the big battleship. So you go in there. I go to court, like within a month and a half. I was sentenced. I was guilty. Like they had me. This is the things that they could not get me for any cars. Only cars they had is they had that Mustang and they had the truck I was in. Period. So they got me for 2 counts of GTA, right? And 2 counts of GTA, and I get arrested. I got my prison priors and all that stuff. I'm already 80% because I'm a striker because from the violent crime I committed before. I go back to the yard. I go right back to the same reception and the same yard. I went right back in like a full loop, man. And less than a year later, I'm right back to where I was. And I do some more time, and I get Loki was my this time Loki becomes my cellie, and
who's Loki?
Loki was just like, he was another big old corn-fed white boy just like me, and like he just he was a lifer. He was a lifer, and like he was, and for whatever reason, like he knew every little scheme and scandalous prank. He knew the manipulation of this guy was insane. Of him like being able like as if we have rights inside prison, and I can't be in this cell because my outlet doesn't work. I want to move. You can't do this and you can't do that, and we're snorting Wellbutrin. We're taking Seroquel at night. We're making Pruno in the middle. You know, we're running the tiers, and you know, I think at this time I was on lockdown for the most of that whole time, in which 23-hour lockdown days, but I had like a job. I was like, when we were able to come off unlock, I had a critical job in the kitchen, and I was able to work, and I get let out, man, and I'm everything but free when I get out, man, because it just seems that I cannot stop. Like I get out, man, I get stuck in this vicious cycle, man, of committing crimes, dude.
Is when you're in, is anybody sending you money?
No,
nobody. So you're just, what are you doing to make money in there?
I work I'm working in the kitchen, and when you go on lockdowns for like 1 or 2 years, everybody, there's no store ran, there's nothing like that. Right. So like I'm able to, and we're self-feeding, and we're getting self-fed. So I'm able to bring the carts. I'm taking the carts with the food in it to each and every block. I'm bringing like, I don't know if it's 3 pounds of coffee grounds, peanut butter, tortillas, man, was my hustle inside there. All right. And I sold coffee grounds, and which you just take, because at this time there's like, that's hot water. So you just take a clean sock, a dirty sock, or whatever sock you have, or a kitchen hairnet, a white hairnet, and you put the coffee grounds in it, and you tie it with a piece of. You take your plastic bag and you stretch it, make like some rope, and you wrap it around it, and you make your own little coffee filter, and you dip it in your cup, man, and you make some strong ass coffee. And so I sold all this coffee, peanut butter, and all that stuff, man, and tortillas were a big one too. And I put it all in the cart. I was in the kitchen for a while, and plus I worked in the kitchen on my previous term, and then I came back, and the guard was still there that worked in there, and he immediately pulled me right back to my job. And now I know we're on a lockdown for a couple years, and so we're self-feeding. I'm boosting everything I can from the kitchen and bringing it back to the blocks, and I'm selling it. And I'm going into every block 1 to 4 and dropping goods off. And so what it does for me, it just gives me everything that I need. As in tobacco, it's horrible. I mean, that's survival. That's right. Survival in there, right? Yeah. Like it doesn't sound like much, but that's the survival in there.
You're also locked down for 2. Why are they locked down for 2 years? Every time they let them out, boom, there's riots.
Yeah.
Lock them back down
because race riots, like boom, it's a war. So we're going at it. At this time, I think we went at it with the guards. And or it's like we went up in the program office and we booked a program, and we booked a warden or sergeant or something like that, and then we were just booked.
You mean like that? Somebody
like he got stabbed. They walked. Like literally ran into the sergeant's office right off the yard, right into the offices, and they booked him and so it was a lot, and so they didn't care about us, like they were. For the first couple months, it was like nothing going on. Like they were feeding us and prepping all the food. And then as 3 or 4 months go by, like they let a chosen few of people out to go do the kitchen laundry services to keep it flowing. And I was just one of those ones that I got to be able to roam a little bit. And so I got a little free play. I got to get up at 3:30 a.m. in the kitchen, and then I feed, be back by 10. So it gave me a nice routine, some structure for me. And
so when you got out, did you go to a halfway house or?
No, I continued out there doing the same stuff I was doing for the next 10 years. And
you stayed out for 10 years?
No, I didn't stay out, man. I had a strike. I have quite a record at this time, and the one thing I can't do is I can't stay out. And the one thing that keeps on happening to me is that even though I sold a lot of drugs and I did a lot of drugs and I used to do all this stuff, and now when I get out, I'm addicted to drugs. Now I can't keep I always had people when I got out that would give me drugs. They never were like, here is a $5,000, man, and get on your feet. It's never Garrett. Here, what you just got out, man. I know that $200 goes fast. Here, get yourself a job, some clothes, maybe, and help yourself out.
Right.
It was never that. It was like, here's some drugs to sell, and to get on your feet, homeboy. Here, pressure. Good to see you. Good to see you. So I immediately, as those times go, and I try, man. Like I really want to, man. Like I really want to do better. But I couldn't, man, because I got struck. I didn't know nothing else but those streets. I tried to get a job and work, and man, it just when it happened, I tried to go to parole and check into parole, but like it wasn't happening. And my crimes, and I just became this like addicted. I just wanted to be like left alone, addicted to drugs, and then it was like wasn't even about selling drugs. Now I get into selling guns. And that guy I talked about earlier, who I met, like finally, like I'm hanging out with that guy that I idol that came to the house that one day. That guy that when I was sitting there on the couch at 15 years old, and this guy came in the house, and everybody was just like in awe of him. Like, I'm doing stuff, and we're selling guns throughout the area, and from Antelope Valley to San Fernando Valley, all throughout out there. And I remember sitting there getting loaded with them one day, and I'd be like, man, you're my idol, dude. Like, you're my idol, man. Like I want to be like you. I want tattoos like you and everything. And he'd be like, man, you don't want to be like me. He'd be like, I remember, man, it's one of those things. We're sitting there, and by this time, I'm putting a needle in my arm. He's putting a needle in his arm, And I'm sitting there talking about, I want the tattoos that like you have, like all that stuff that means somebody who does time. I want that stuff, man, on me. And I remember him getting there, man, him getting so serious and then being like, you don't want to be like me. Man, you don't want to look like this. Look at me. My life is doomed. I couldn't understand what he meant, man. What it meant is that his life is doomed, that he sticks out like a sore thumb, like he is locked into that way of life because of the way he looks. And this is maybe just his perception that he's locked in this way of life, man. And he's telling me, hey, kid, man, like you don't want to be like me. Even though I 100% wanted to be him at that moment, man. I'm unfortunate, man. I things never worked out in the yards when I wanted tattoos or anything like that. And so I don't have any. I don't know if it was that time when I first got busted and I came home with this and my mom was like, man, don't get tattoos on your body. And if something happened, I didn't get no tattoos. And that guy to this day is still running from the law and hiding all throughout in all the different states. And every now and then he reaches out to me and like it's just like, it was like I'm sitting there with this guy I idolize and he was telling me, man, like this life isn't for you. And I couldn't stay out, man. Like my drug addiction and everything that came with it from the streets. Like I'm addicted to the streets and the streets is the drugs. And I couldn't stay out of jail on a violation because I'm a striker and I got like a 80%er. So like every single one of my violations, I get out, be 1 year. Get out, I'd be out for a month, it'd be 1 year. I get out, another year went by, and I can't stay out, and not only did that, like my whole dream as a convict was I wanted to bring stuff into prison and sell drugs. I wanted to sell drugs in prison just like I sold it on the streets. And my points start to drop because I'm doing these violations of 4 yard, a 4 yard, to a 3 yard, to a 2 yard, I land on this 1 yard on a hard 19, and I'm sitting there on this 1 yard. And it's my last trip. It's my last time. I don't know it's going to be my last time, but I'm on this prison yard, and like what I want to do, man, like that. By this time, the cell phones are on the yard. No, nobody's smoking now. We need to smuggle tobacco on the yard, not just drugs, but we're trying to bring tobacco on here too. And it falls in my place that I have those connections on the streets to where like I remember sitting there watching everything going on inside the prison system, everything going on, dude. To where like you're sitting there and like this, talk about sitting up against the wall and watching everything every single day that goes on. Like you're taking note of like you got 4 o'clock walk, 3:35 to 3:40 walk to the A side. You're talking about 4 o'clock to 4:15 getting ready for chow. I got this whole thing eyes out, man. I got these youngsters that just prey on me because I come from this 4 yards. So there's like, Garet, I'll do whatever for you, man. I got this kid that, hey man, he has this phone. I made the connections. I get it with the local man. I literally have guys jumping the fence in this 1 yard from inside jail, jumping out, running to the street, grabbing duffel bags, and bringing that duffel bag back in.
Right.
Full of tobacco, one, and some drugs. And like, damn. And I'm not talking like one time, I'm talking multiple. I'm having them bring it into like just bringing the stuff inside the prison system. And like, damn, I was like, I arrived. Right? This kid, like I remember this kid. I remember sitting there, man. I'm in cahoots with all the races. Like you have, like it's not just like a white boy thing. It's all divided up in there. Right. But like this is something like a group effort. They're like, hey, look, man, like I need you guys to do a distraction over here. Like you got the blacks on the basketball court. You got the homies playing handball. A couple of white boys with them. White boys on the track, and I'm walking. I know which cop is where and everything going on. I'm watching this kid jump this fence, dude. Get over the next fence, all the way down, in the goalie, and I watch him lay flat in the ground, and I can only imagine how scared that kid was when he was sitting there on the other side of that fence right there, getting ready to go grab a duffel bag. I don't know if it was one, it might have been two, and how he must have felt, dude. Because what he didn't do is he didn't make it to the street. He turned right back around, and he jumped right back in.
Right.
And he's like, I can't do it, man. I can't do it. And like, fuck, man. Like you just, what? Right?
You were already outside.
You're already outside. And I remember this other guy from another black guy came to me. His name is Rabbit, dude. He says, I'm the fastest dude on this yard, man. I'm the fastest dude. Like, what is it going to take? Like, what would you pay me to go? I'm like, what do you want? Like, what do you want, man? Because back then, cans of tobacco were going for a private penny, especially when you haven't been smoking. Like, there's always heroin on the yard. That's like a number one hit. Like, there's always heroin there. I want to bring everything besides the heroin because I see more heroin inside the prison system than I ever seen on the streets, dude. But I'm going to tell you, like, but this guy, he came to me and I gave him what he wanted. And I'm going to tell you, this guy, the same plan that I had for that guy, this guy jumped over all the roads. And I mean, to the point, you talk about nervous and scared. Like to the point like this is like that guy is coming in hot, man, on the fence. I'm watching the guards walking up, dude. Like it's yard recall. It's like the first bell has blown. It's yard recall. And this guy's coming around the fence, dude. The bags are in. He threw the bags over the fence, but this guy, like we got to cover him. So like I'm big, like we all have to make a wall to block the guard from seeing this guy come over the fence. Like it's like, and I'm talking like the guard is like, it's like I don't know if he knew something or he felt it, like how we were just all like asking him the dumbest of questions, like, where'd you get your boots from today, sir? Like, he's like, what's going on? They're like, hey man, what's going on? Hey, and as I look around the corner, I see the guy walking in, man. And he goes to Iraq, man. And everything worked out. And I'm gonna tell you, there ain't nothing. Like when you're sitting there like that just got pulled off. That is a great victory. When I'm sitting there on the cell phone inside the prison system and I got people driving up and I got them on the cell phone and I'm directing them at every step they need to do, drive down the road. I see you in that car. I need you to drive in the first building park. There's going to be a guy there with horns on his head that wrap around his ears. He's going to come up. He's going to grab that bag, and that guy takes that bag and he divides it all up. And at this time, and that plan that comes and works, man. Like there is no greater in anything that's a premeditated plan that works out when it comes to like it. Damn, that worked out. Like when I'm sitting there, it's one thing to sit with 10 pounds out there on the streets of methamphetamine. But when you're sitting with a 1/4 ounce inside of a cell, boy, man, I'm going to tell you, it feels so much more than that little amount that you just had right there. Like when I was sitting there weighing up pinky nails for $100, dude, out of a 1/4 ounce. I mean, I sat there for hours of pinky nails, dude, of baggies, man, and going out to your yard and all of them are gone by the time I come back in from the night yard. And like that plant, like it amazes me, but there is no better rush than that feeling right then and there. Like that was a rush for me.
Right.
And that was my goal. See, that's what a guy like me, that was like the highest my thinking could go. It was like that was like, it was like set, man. I have it and I do this multiple times, and it was always big. It was always like a bigger nest or something like that, or getting people involved and that was it, man. And I get out of prison one more time, and it's nothing. I get out of prison. For me, getting out of prison is just something that I'm so accustomed to.
So what happened when you got it? What changed it? I got two questions. One, what did Rabbit ask for?
Oh, what did Rabbit ask for? He wanted half a bag of tobacco, which, I mean, you got to figure half a bag of tobacco. I'm doing 5 bags at a time. You're talking about $1,000 per can. You get like 8 cans per bag. I'm saying, and so the amount of money that you make, you're fucking Rabbit. That's it.
Right.
Done deal.
Yeah.
Right. Done deal. Doing business with that for me at this particular time when I did business with the blacks in there at this time, man, like it was always so smooth. It went so smooth every single time. But when I was doing business with the homies or something like that, it was always some fucking bullshit happening, dude. And it like,
what would have happened to him if he got caught?
Escape.
Yeah.
Moved to a different yard, higher level. He would have been inside the big yard. I'm saying, and I'm gonna tell you, Rabbit was fast, dude. Like he booked from the. I mean, you literally watched him book. Like, and And I didn't have him in CDC wear. Like we had him in a pair of jeans and a white T-shirt, some brand new shoes, and like in a IPA jacket that he was able to put it on, and that way barbed wire ain't gonna affect him. Like when you throw it over the fence, you climb over that.
Right.
And this is all in the middle of the time because you got guards on doing a perimeter check all the time. So like he was like man, this guy was fast, dude. Rabbit for sure. He was a rabbit.
So explain that the process of how he's jumping the fence. How's he getting out? He's taking the jacket and throwing it over.
Taking there's like two fences and there's just a barbed wire. There's this barbed wire, and so what he's doing is he's taking that jacket and he's throwing it cotton side down. You know what I'm saying? Over and sliding over it, man. And then on the same thing on the way back in, same way, peeling the jacket off. And coming in, man, and like you're going over the first gate. There's only like a single line of barbed wire. He's able to get over that. It's right next to the wall, and then there's like a little side piece that's on the side of the building. That's like a little, be like no different than having like a little dog run on the side of your house. Like it's closed off because it's a blind's eye view, and so you go into there and then go out because that gives you the corner. You're going up you have like the structure of what you need or the support you need of the wall and the stronger portion of the fence to throw and it's darker and it's like it's the blind eye. Now, that's what you're looking for, the blind eye view, right? And jacket over the fence and this dude was gone and back, dude, so quick and with two of those like duffel bags and
right.
And he helped those bags over, and they have tables on the yard in the minimum yard right next to the handball court right there, and we have our wool black blankets over there covering the table because and so you don't hit your knuckles when you're slapping cards, and he'd throw a bag over, the homies would grab it, they wrap it in the blanket, right? The duffel bag would be wrapped up in the blanket, and they sort of walk in like everything be like blocked, just like smooth as day. And the same thing, like white boys be playing cards, and they did the same thing. And they walk on in with this like two bags, and then you go to your rack and you have count time, and then all you would see after count, man, is just a layer of smoke, man, from the top bunk, because it's a day room, like it's a day room setting, and you would just see smoke, dude, all the way down, man. You walk in like, God damn, like, holy crap.
Couldn't even wait till lights out.
No, nobody could wait till lights out, man. Nobody could wait till lights out. And
when you got out the second time, when you were preparing to get out and you knew you were getting out, were you thinking you're just going to get out and do the same thing over again?
On this particular run, on this particular term, I got out. I'm busted. I was like a GTA. I got there's enough time from my first term to this term. There was a lot of time in between, probably like 10 years, over 10 years, and my point is I still had a hard 19. I couldn't get same CDC number, just a hard 19. So my points came down a long ways because of violations or good time or whatever. I was following instructions in there. I wasn't needing to make a name for myself or wasn't an ATSEG or in the hole or anything like this. This is, but I went to get out, and this is what you don't want to happen when you get out, man. As I remember, it was my release date. And what happened is that morning when they come, you're transpacked and you're ready to go and you give all your stuff away. And I'm sitting there and I'm waiting now because you're like, you can't sleep. I can't sleep. Maybe some people, but I couldn't sleep today or maybe even 2 days before I was getting out because I'm so anxious about getting onto the streets. Like everything, like, oh my God. Like, and I don't know, it was this like you get in there, what to expect. Like you're not doing no drugs. It's like the path you got to walk, but now I'm going out, man. And I got freedom. I got freedom of choice and I'm going to go out there. And what it is deep down, I know I'm going to use, but what happens this morning and the transpack, and they usually come pick you up and they take you to the main yard to dress out over to R&R, and damn, they don't get me. Fuck, they come in to grab everybody that's getting released that day. I'm at the glass door sitting there like ready, man, bag ready to go, man, and they don't come. And what happens is I got a hold. And I got another warrant somewhere else, man, and I got a hold, and I got to wait there they're going to come and get me. They got 2 weeks to come and get me. They come and get me in a week. I go back down to county jail, And it's always the worst coming from the penitentiary to the county jail, man. I'm in the politics are, I mean, it's all the same, but the politics are different from state to county. And I'm sitting there in the county jail, man. And like, it's just like, I already don't want to be here, man. And I don't want to be there. And
they didn't catch the hold. They didn't catch the whole time. They didn't catch it.
Yeah, they didn't catch the whole time. Like, and I filled out paperwork and all this stuff in between, and I parole to a hold, and the hold picks me up. I go back to the county. They throw it out. I go to the court. They throw it out. I get released, man. And this now is probably like 3 weeks after I was supposed to. It's maybe 2 weeks after I'm supposed to get out, and I don't even make it home, dude. I meet a guy getting released. I end up doing some credit card schemes and reader writer and cars. I'm in a town I never even heard of with the girl I just met in a hotel room on a bogus number. I'm saying doing some reader writers. I met this guy. Man, and he was like, "You should come with me." Okay, let's go, dude. That's it. Let's go. Hey, I need a belt, man. I go there. I still got my dress out, so but I need a belt, dude. He's like, I got a belt at my house, man. I end up in Los Angeles, somewhere in Los Angeles. I know at 5:30 in the morning, I'm at a casino in Hawaiian Gardens, I believe. I'm in a casino, man, and believe me, at 6, 7 in a casino at 6 a.m., fresh out, hot, man. I feel like I'm below. I feel like I'm the brightest. I feel, first of all, like everybody to me feels like they're 4 foot, 5 foot there, and I'm just like way above them. And it's early in the morning, and I feel like my whole is just glossy, and I feel like just like I need to get out of here. And this guy's like, man, I know this girl. I'm gonna pick her up. We're gonna go to this hotel room, man, and we go to this nice suite, man. It has I'm not even asking questions. I'm just like, hey, let's go. And we're doing this. He's doing his thing, his fraud thing, and he gives me all these cards, and he leaves me with this girl inside this suite, man. And I'm there for a few days, dude. And I finally drift on home, man. And I'm gonna tell you, it's like my whole coordination. Now I've been up for like 3 days. I'm making up lies to tell like my kid's mom, like, hey, when I just got out of county, all this stuff. And
well, what was the credit card fraud? She gave you cards. You guys were running it.
Yeah, like she go in and steal the cards,
right?
You know, and then he had the reader writer. He rewrite them. He just recode them. The gift, and not just like the gift card types, you know,
right,
type things. And you go in there and you buy 50, get 40, buy $55, get 45 back cat type stuff. And
right.
So I'm going into stores, I'm buying all this stuff I don't need, like clothes. I always feel like clothes don't fit me. Like I'm so weird. I'm just used to wearing these gray shorts and white shoes and this white T-shirt. And then I buy some pants, and I don't even know. Like I'm buying clothes that don't fit. And I'm with this girl, man. I'm stuck. I'm with her, man. Getting high in this hotel room, reader writer, eating food for the next few days, man. I remember I walked down to the office, and I'm like, can you give me a map, man? Can you? I'm like, how do I get to Antelope Valley? And can you get on your computer and give me directions? And he printed out this whole like 3 pages of like orange line to blue line to like this stop to get onto the train. The train here will take you to like Montebello to downtown to San Fernando, and you finally make it over to Antelope Valley, man. And that was an all-day trip. It took me must have 8 hours, dude. And I was lost, man. I was like, I didn't know. And I have bags of stuff with me. I haven't slept since I've been out. Everything is just like, you know, I'm chain smoking cigarettes, and yeah, and that's what it was for me. But what happened after doing so much time and doing all that stuff is that at the very end of it, I get busted one more time. I get busted. I get busted. I get home. I get busted right after that.
For what?
For just drugs. Just drugs, man. It's just actually, I don't even think they didn't even find the drugs that were on me, man. It was just a PAL warrant, parole at large. at the end of it, it was like this for me: as I get out, man, I'm staying with these. I got some girls, some strippers and stuff that I stay in this house with these strippers. I'm still in that street life of I can't stop selling to support my habit. At this time now too, since I started putting a needle in my arm inside prison, that when I got out, I couldn't stop putting a needle in my arm on the streets. And even though I would have been more content of myself just staying in amongst the homeless in encampments and the washes and all that stuff with people, so I can get high in peace, that I had some people that cared about me enough that wouldn't let that happen to me. And these girls, they have me and they pull me up and they'd be like, every night, man, they come find me every night, man, no matter how bad or how hard I try to hide, man, they swoop me up and they take me to the house. I'm in a safe spot. And I get busted, man. I'm running around and I that street nonsense, and it's on Valentine's Day of 2013. On Valentine's Day of 2013, man, I'm in a shootout on the streets. I've been out for about 45 days. I'm staying with those girls. Cops are looking for me for things I done, but I really don't know. I did so much drugs that I probably blacked out towards people and stuff like that.
How did the shootout happen?
On Valentine's Day, I went to go meet this girl, and because I wanted to go stay at her. I've been up since I got out, man. Like, I'm just telling her, like, I need to sleep, man. I need to sleep. I need to go to your house and sleep, man. Because I was like, I needed a quiet spot. I needed to get away from wherever I was staying at, and there's this guy that I was looking for, and I told him if I ever saw you, or I'm like, look, man, you don't need to wolf to me on the phone. Like, when I see you on the streets, because we're both running on the streets, and I'm bound to see you. Then what time it is, man? And it just so happens at 6 o'clock that morning when I got dropped off at this apartment complex, and I'm like, who's here? And she's like, Drop Dead's here, and I'm like, really? And it was just like two dogs meeting two people. I turned over, I looked, he saw me, I saw him, and he pulled up. I went to try to square up with him right there in the car and stuff like that, because he's blocked in because it's an apartment with a gate. So he's at the gate. I come over to the side. I try hitting him through the window and stuff like that. And as I start swinging on him, the gate opens. He drives off, and now I'm with this girl and this youngster kid, and we're walking down the street, and I hear his car coming around the block, and I step off the curb because he's coming down the street, and the people, the girl and the guy I'm with, sort of go the other way. And as he comes around and he stops on that yellow line, and he points his gun at me and he starts firing, man, I just start running towards him. And because that's where my disease, at this point in my life, this is what the disease, addiction, and this is what everything. If I would have died, like, to die in a battlefield, or it would be like I left with my name meaning something. Like, I'm out there. If I would have got shot in like some gang activity or running the streets, like, it may be like, damn it, that's meaningful. And no bullet ever hit me. By the time I reached his car, he took off. I chased him as far as I could until I was out of breath, and all I was doing was seeking revenge that night, man. I called that personal office gangsters call when we get in trouble. I called my mom. Mom, I need that thing I got at your house. That's in that vehicle that don't run. And she's like, I'm not at my house. And I got loaded. I get loaded with my mom. So I got loaded with my mom that night. And I'm hot, dude. So my mom was like, I'm not going any place you're at. You can come over here. And I go over there. I get loaded with my mom, her friends, and this girl I'm with. She drops me off at this liquor store. And an off-duty officer recognized me coming out of that liquor store. And at that liquor store, I'm getting a bottle of vodka, and I'm going to my hideout. And I'm sitting there pulling up, getting loaded one more time, waiting for a couple of my partners to come here because I'm gonna go get this guy. And I know what was gonna happen if I stayed out, but. So within me being at this house for like 3 to 5 minutes, I don't know how time. It could have been 5 minutes, could have been 20 minutes. I don't know. I just know that I'm pulling up shots. I'm getting loaded. I'm waiting for a partner of mine to come, and I'm gonna go get my gun, and I'm gonna go get this guy. And they come in every door and every window, and they lay me down on the ground one more time. I'm arrested one more time. One more time, I'm arrested, dude. And arrested or saved, whatever you want to call it, man. And I go into jail, and that's
what is it charged this time? Say parolee at large.
Parolee at large.
Yeah, just because you never checked in.
Never checked in. Parolee at large, right?
Right.
And they and they put me in. They said, why don't you try this drug program, because it's a drug related charge. Finally, all up to this point, I really never had like a direct drug charge. It was always guns or weapons charges and sales charges and all this stuff. And at this time, it was a substance, and
Right.
And they put me in a treatment center. And I arrived in a treatment center on March 17, 2013, and I've been clean and sober ever since, man. I've been living a life of recovery, and I put that whole lifestyle that I had lived, man, and I started on March 17th of 2013. I started a whole new chapter in my life of recovery.
Okay, but why? Like, what happened? You know what I'm saying? Was
As I sat,
never an option before? Like,
it's
did you
always
ever think about
it was
it?
always been an option.
Did you just never even considered it before?
I never considered it. I never.
So why this?
Why now? Like, why did I sit there? Like,
Yeah. Why
like
did they say, hey, this? And then you, like, before you had been
before
offered.
I never had the option. Before
Okay.
I never had the option of doing this before in my life. I never went down to parole board meeting down the bottom of the halls and they said, we're going to give you a drug program, because my stuff, I didn't have those kind of charges that would make me a drug. Even though I am 100% addicted, and that leads to everything, but my charges were different. I'm beating somebody up. I'm getting busted with guns, a GTA, and all that stuff. Those are all my controlling cases. And I don't know the luck of the draw that came down to it, but like deep down inside me, I was sick and tired of living that lifestyle I was living.
It just happened that they said this one time.
Yeah.
Boom.
Here.
It just happened to
It just happened.
connect.
How everything worked out, man, on that parole board meeting, man. It was like maybe something that the ways of the system were changing, and they wanted people to, and I don't know, man. I can't tell you, man. No.
So you went down there, you talked to some people,
They gave me a program. They gave me a drug and treatment program.
and it's a residential program,
No,
right?
it was I guess it was.
Yeah, you had to stay there.
I had to stay there.
Yeah, it's
and
residential.
I stayed there for about 18. I stayed there for 18 months.
Whoa, that's
Yeah.
a serious.
I had to. I couldn't, as much as I wanted to leave, I had to change everything, because everything, dude, everything. At this time, I dropped out of school my freshman year. I went to school 2 months of my freshman year, and I never went back to school. I never had a driver's license my whole life. I never taxes, no driver's license, no ID cards. I just a state ID card. I had a daughter who I didn't talk to for 9 years, in and out of addiction. Like she see bits and pieces of me. Like my mom would bring her my mom brought her one time to the county jail, and I remember coming out from a visit. I'm fighting my case. My mom brings my daughter, and she's in this little cubicle. And I'm everything but happy to see my daughter there, man.
Right.
I'm everything but pissed off at my mom for bringing this little girl there. Like, I'm like, how could you, man? Because I didn't have no love. Like, I didn't have no part of me knew nothing about. I'm selfish and self-centered, and all I thought about was putting drugs. Like, I just like running the streets and putting drugs in my system is all I cared about, man.
Right.
And man, I stayed in that place for 18 months, dude. And like, it was just like deep down inside of me. And man, like you get to a point, I was 33 years old, and I was just tired of running those streets, and I was tired of doing time, and I was tired of all that homeboy shuffle and all that stuff, man. And it just seemed like there was enough of me out of the way that I was in a place to where I had nothing left, man. Nothing.
So was that something that, like, the very first day or week you were there, you thought, because most people, they go into those programs, and they think, I'm going to fake my way through it so I can get out of here, so I can start all over again. I'm going to fake my way through it, because if I go through the program, I get less time than if I went to prison, and it's easier here, and I'm going to fake my way through it, get out, and then I'll start over again. Fuck these people. Was that your initially? Because I went through RDAP in federal prison, right? 9-month program, residential. And I watched guys go in, and they were all going to fake it. And like 2-3 months in, suddenly one day they would change, and you could see them change. Like, you'd see it one day, like they would say something, and you'd look them in the face and be like, "Oh wow, this dude he's all in now. He's just bought into it." Like, was that the thing, or was it from the very beginning you thought, I'm going to try?
When I got picked up that time, right then and there, I went to the county jail, waiting to go down to that board meeting. I'm drinking hand sanitizer with top ramen packs on it because they had alcohol inside the hand sanitizer. We steal the bags out of the dispenser and put it in a cup, a little styrofoam cup.
Right.
Top ramen packs on it, a little bit of hot water to break it down, and I drank it for a head rush. And then, see, I am like, when I'm in that system, I am somebody. I've done enough time to where like that was my home. Like I knew it inside the walls way better than I knew on the streets. Like I didn't have like the mentality to live out here on the streets. Like I had that animal savage lifestyle. Like I knew how to, I had to fake my living out here on the streets.
Right.
And I'm eating Happy Cards, drinking hand sanitizer. And like, that's why I don't count none of that jail time. Like that February 14th, I got busted. And March 17th is when I arrived at the treatment center. But I know from March 17th, and the one thing why I stay March 17th, because I think that's the day, like deep down, is like I made a decision for myself. Because here it is like I was a product of my environment or like my circumstances that I was in sort of made my choices. And I wasn't making the choice for myself. It was like, oh, Garet, you're busted one more time and you're going to jail. I'm forced into a position to not drink and use because I'm in jail. But as soon as the opportunity comes up, I'm all over it, right? I'm all over it. But on March 17th, that day, man, I walked into that office of that treatment center, and they gave me the 24 hours. Hey, if you want to go. You know, we're not looking for people to waste our time. We're looking for people to be serious about this. And it was just something deep down inside me, man, that I truly wanted something different, man. And I made a decision. Like I went in there and made that decision for myself. They say to make no decision is to make a decision to die. And I went in there and I made a decision to live. Because I feel like I was dying out there for the longest I lived, man, and all the stuff I was doing. Like I didn't care about the stuff. Like if like I said, if I would have died out there in the glory of a street violence or something like that, I would have felt like I died a soldier with a badge of honor or with an honor or something like that.
Right.
But here I am as I walk into the treatment center. I made a decision for myself, man, that I wanted something better, man. Maybe it was my daughter, my family, for multiple reasons, but mainly because I was just done. I was done. I think you come to a point where it's like all that stuff was fun and games in your 20s and stuff, and early teens and in your 20s. But here I am, you know, in my 30s, and there's only two choices left: life in prison or death.
So 18 months. 18
months inside this place of learning how to. Of course, I worked in the kitchen just like I did in a penitentiary. I still sold burritos just like to make a living. Right. I need some shoes. And what I did is I learned a new way to live I got me a job making $4 an hour through a temp agency. I couldn't get a driver's license, so I rode a bike to that temp agency every single day to get it to work. I come back to that place, and I participate in the groups they have done, and I got involved in the 12-step program. And then as I met people in the 12-step program, I met a guy who called my sponsor who like was an example of what like life had to charge. Is another convict that sort of went down the same path, and like each one teach one, just like no different than a guy coming into prison. And like, and if you're like, hey, cool, this is a cool guy, then I'm gonna show you the ropes. And there's no different. I came into recovery, and I met a guy, and he showed me the ropes. And he was just a great example of what to do. And I didn't know, man. I didn't know how to live on the streets. I didn't know nothing about, like, I was at the end of it. I was running fraud in my own bank account, so I couldn't have a bank account now. And I went in to try to get a driver's license, and that was so far. I didn't get a driver's license until I was 3 years clean and sober, because all the stuff that records of the past that I had to clean up. I didn't talk to that little girl for 9 years. I didn't talk to my father for over 20 years, and I had to stop talking to my mom for the first couple of years I was in there. Right. And I had to start living life. Like, I had to learn everything. I had to learn how to live life from this point forward, man. I did all the groups, and even though it was all the gangster, it's like I was in a treatment center that was like still running politics and all this stuff, man. And there's still drugs. And like I said, it was like the choices you made, man. Like deep down inside of me, I wanted a better way to live. And like I got that job. I started working. I got connected into the meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I got me a sponsor. The sponsor would come. He come read the book with me, and I stayed, man. Like I got this job, and I really wanted a car bad, dude. I really wanted a car, man. This is why I have trust issues right here. Is I work, man, and they you get paid and you have to turn all your money in because they save it for you. You get they're like, what do you need money for? Like, I need money for cigarettes. I need money for zoom wham whams. I'm gonna go on a pass this day. I need $20. All right, cool. Here's $60 for you for the week. The rest goes into your little bank account. And so by the time I started working, so I got almost a year. I've been saving these. I'm not making much. I'm making like $287 a week. But I have a nice few grand set up side, and I really want a car bad. I don't even have a license, but I'm manifesting me getting a driver's license and stuff. I'm gonna buy myself a present. I'm gonna buy me a car, so when I do get my driver's license, I'm good, right? And I'm looking. I go into Craigslist and I see this lad, this lady selling her husband's car, divorce, all that good stuff that you see in those. And I tell the office and everything there that I'm gonna buy this truck and have it here at the treatment center. So because I'm gonna get my license soon, and I go down there and I send pretty much everything I have in my bank account through a not a PayPal but a Western Union slip, and there goes all my money.
It was all a scam.
It was all a scam, dude. It was all a scam, and they're like, "Thank you," and I felt so like, how did I fall for this?
Right.
How did I fall for this, dude? I'm sitting there with this guy and I'm telling him how they want more money to bring the truck out. And he's like, look, Garet, he's like, man, no more money sending out that way, man. So I don't buy nothing unless I could touch it or I could see it nowadays. And I was burned. And what it is that, man, I started a life of recovery, man. I was in there for 18 months. I started talking to my dad again. I talked to my mom, but I got reconnected with a relationship with a father who I didn't talk to for 20 years. I started fresh with him, and it was hard. It was awkward. It was like all the emotions you can ever think. But I'm gonna tell you, the more time that I spent with them, the more that I talked with them, the more that all that stuff just disappeared. And I had a dad present in my life, man. And all the way up to the point where he passed away. And my dad was that. I was there, for so many years. I never show up. I never grew up. My dad. I was nothing. But every time my dad was every 4th of July, every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, every whatever it is, I bring me and my daughter and I go there and I participate in every family function, man. And I sat there and I never drank, and all of them would, and I got to reconnect with my father, and I at the same thing too with my daughter. At 9 years old, she was 8 years old, and I got to develop a relationship with my daughter. To this day, she's like my number one hero, my best friend. We started surfing together. When she was 11 years old, we started surfing together, and now our favorite thing to do, man, is we just go surf together, man. And it's small things like that, and in my life in recovery, man, it's you're either all in or you're all out, man. There's no half measures. I came in and I completely had to abandon this old life and everything I knew about life, and I had to every prejudice, everything that was in my head that I thought I knew. I had to relearn life, man. It's no different than this guy, since I was so young and I went to jail young, I learned how to shave with these orange grenade razor blades. It was every day, when you have court, you get these kitty razors, man, and you a big razor, man, you shave before court. And I sort of, you take soap, cold water, soap, and I put it on my face and I shave, and I always cut my head, and I just be a massacre happen every single time, right? And what happened is for this new part of my life, it was I was shaving in the bathroom one time, man. And I was at a retreat with this guy I called my sponsor, and I was at this retreat, man. And he seen me, and the door's open, I'm shaving. We're gonna go down to this meeting, and he sees me shaving. And what it is, man, is a guy comes in there and he said, first of all, you might want to try this razor. And instead of using that soap, you probably want to use this gel, and this is how you do it. And he showed me a new way to do it. And the same thing is happening to me for my life, man. Like all those old ways that I thought were living, man. Like what he did is I had enough of me out of the way to where people were showing me a new way to live, man. Like I had to learn how to learn how to carry a wallet. I had to learn how to be a dad to my daughter. I had to learn to be a son to my dad. I had to the sisters I didn't talk to. I had to learn to be a family member. I had to learn all this stuff. I learned all this stuff by the 12 steps, by being consistent, by throwing myself into recovery, man, and just like and doing these 12 steps and doing all this stuff, man. Like it just sort of the consistency and just doing it, man. Just sort of like just gave me like a new stamp in life, man. I'll tell you, like I always thought, man, like if something ever happened to my mom, or I was like, because I was like my work, she wrote me a letter every prison term. I always knew within a couple months my mom was going to write me a letter. She maybe sent me $20 one time if I like a Christmas or something like that. I get $20 from my mom or something like that. And I always thought, man, like if something happened to my mom, like I don't know if I'd be emotionally strong enough to be able to withhold that. Like I don't know if like that would be like my reservation of why I might go out and use again. And I put enough work in, man, to the 12 steps, got on my understanding to all the stuff that works, man. That when my mom died, like she died, my dad died first, and less than a year, my mom died, and like I'm like an emotional like wreck, man. And I'm gonna tell you, but the last thing I ever thought about, man, was going out there and taking a Drake hitter fix and putting it inside my system and to change the way I feel about this. And I just went out there, man, and my greatest asset, man. Like I live a very good life today, and my greatest asset today is going into the depths of hell of the life I was living, and being out there on those streets and gang members and streets and all this stuff, man. Is being able to have my hand out there in that pot, man. And to be able to see a guy and recognize that guy as me, as a guy that's out there who's been running the streets so long, involved in gangs, can't stay out of jail, who's addicted to drugs, who doesn't talk to his family, who loves his kids, but he can't see his kids because he's ashamed, and the guilt and all that stuff that he carries with him, man. As I get these guys, man, and I showed them how to live a new life, man. And that's my primary purpose today in life, man.
Can I ask, how old were your parents when they passed away?
Young.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because you're not
young. Parents were I think mom was 59, dad maybe 63.
Yeah, that's young.
Yeah.
It's just because what? Just hard life, just alcoholism, and addiction.
For my dad, it might have been alcoholism. For the earlier generations and stuff like that, like whiskey, like my dad.
What did he die of?
I honestly like his insides failed him. Like I think alcohol, liver, his insides, right, and all that stuff gave out.
Okay.
And he died. And then my mom had a brain aneurysm. Like I was on a ride with some friends of mine going on our Harleys, and my sister called me and she's like, "Hey, I went by the house and mom, like she had a stroke and she lost, and she went to the hospital. By the time she got to the hospital, they were like, she has an aneurysm in her brain. We have to like do an emergency operation, and there's a 95% chance she's going to live." And when she came out and when she was the way she was, like it was like nobody wants to live as a vegetable, you know?
Right.
And that was it, man. And that was it. And that was instantly, man. It was like one day I woke up. I was supposed to go see my dad that Friday. He's been fighting his liver and all. He had lots of medical issues going on, and he's fighting all of them. It's during COVID, so like you can't even like if you're in the hospital during COVID and you're trying to go see somebody, it's not happening, dude.
Right.
They weren't letting nobody in. Like it was a horrible time, and he finally gets released and he gets back to the house and like. It was like my stepmom walked inside and he was on the floor of the room, like he had a heart attack and he died. So I make sure today that I try to eat healthy, live healthy, and be healthy.
And now you said you volunteer at a at a facility, and you're helping to start a facility.
Yes. So I from day one, since I got out of treatment and I moved out to Santa Clarita, and I started getting involved into the San Fernando Valley of Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, and just in the recovery in all aspects, and the staying of service of helping the people. I do the meetings and on a service plane that opportunity came along to get your own detox and own sober living, and no IOP, and so I started one, and it's in the works. It's in Van Nuys, and it's called Mindset Recovery, and it's a start in a new chapter of our life, man. And the greatest thing is I get to be able to go in there and use my experience of going through places like that, and helping other people.
You also give speeches, right? You do keynote speeches, or at where?
I go around, and this year I advocate for families in criminal justice, and I share over telling my testimony in recovery meetings.
Have you gone back to like any jails or anything?
I haven't got the clearance yet.
Yeah,
I'm trying. It's on my radar, but I haven't got cleared yet, man. Like it's and that to me, and I'm close. I'm close to going that tenfold of being able to go share in the prison systems and to these guys and especially like in the 4-yard over in Tehachapi where I was, where I was one of the first meetings I ever went to. I was in the 4-yard in Tehachapi State Prison, and they brought in a panel, and I was too hip, slick, and cool, man, but they had good coffee. And I remember hearing a guy carry a message, man, and I will soon be doing that.
Yeah, I've thought about doing that. I thought that would be cool to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like go back to Coleman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you have to do to get clearance. Somebody told me, I talked to a guy that there's actually a couple of guys. There's a guy that was a former sheriff that came, and I did an interview with. I think he talks. I think there's a couple guys. There's also, what's the other guy? Hoffman? Tony Hoffman. I think he does it too.
Yeah. Nice, dude.
Yeah. But he said you got to get like special permission.
Yeah, you have to fill out, you have to get, but the good thing about it today is like, I'm not on, like I'm clear. Like I of course,
like I'm still on paper.
Yeah.
So I got at least 2 more months to get off paper even. So you can't even try and do that. No, it's like trying to get your voting rights back.
I've been off paper for probably going on 8 years now. And so I discharged high control. I was in treatment. Once I got off high control, that's probably another reason why I stayed at that treatment center for so long, is that I wanted to stay there until I was off parole, and because they're testing. I was still on high control when I got out, and inside of a treatment center, so they're testing me twice a week, and doing all that stuff. I got a job. They come to my job, like all that embarrassing stuff, and I discharged it, man. No, and I didn't even get my discharge card. And I was like, man, I don't even care about it. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, right. But I was buying a house. I was looking into buying a house and stuff like that, and filling out applications elsewhere for like loans and stuff like that. And I remember I filled out all that stuff on the application, and the advisor afterwards was like, he's like, none of this stuff came up. You don't need to put it no more.
Right.
You're like, oh, thanks for the advice. So that's good. That's good.
I was gonna say it's like filling out an application for an apartment. Like,
yeah,
some stuff shows up, some doesn't. Like it's nice because now nothing shows up on me when I fill it out. So now I'm just like, nothing. I don't put anything. I'm not gonna put nothing.
Nothing. That's exactly how I'm the same way.
Do you think you were pretty much doomed from the start, like in your situation, like your family situation, like?
Yeah, I think because of me and the way I grew up, and I 100% like if you would have looked at me in the environment I'm in and the life, I had that choice though. See, I had that choice. I could have went with my dad to this other side of the fence and lived with him and my sisters and sort of had that normal child, like somewhat of that normal childhood. But I chose to stay with my mom because I was a mama's boy. Like I felt like I feel like boys are more want their mom more, and I couldn't leave my mom's side. Like I was like I just couldn't do it, and I felt like I didn't want to abandon my mom. I felt like I was saving her or everything that went on. Like I just like I couldn't leave her. My sister, she was gone, and I couldn't do it.
You said cars were your thing. I guess the first part of the question would be, how'd you learn how to steal cars? And then maybe a kind of like a follow-up to that is, what's the easiest way to steal a car? What are you looking for when you're trying to?
First, I mean, there's a couple things. It depends if you're going to joyride that car or if you're actually going to be in that car to like sell. Like there was times when I was stealing cars to sell. And so I would scope out a particular car in which it'd be like a cleaner getaway to where I would have a shaker or a cleaner key or a whole new ignition to pop in it. And to when I was just G-riding the car, I used to carry just a pair of scissors in my back pocket, dude. And I would just like I just walk through an apartment building or walk through a parking lot and I knew exactly what Toyota Camry or a Honda Accord or whatever car I had to go up to, and I just put these scissors in there and just and start it just like that. And then I just take that car, and I would take that car from one side to the city to the next, and just drop it off, and then I would just use that same key and grab another one and go on the other side of town, and just keep on going with that.
You hit a motorcycle shop.
Man, I was
break down that whole you seeing it, the thought process.
I was selling drugs, man. I do my rounds. I'm selling drugs. I got my partner with me. I'm fighting that case. I'm out on bail, and I have court like that next morning, and I'm still out doing the same old stuff. And I go by one of these guys that's selling for me, man. And he's like pulls me in this back room. He's like, man, I got this great scam. Like, dang, and I was like, man, let's hear it. I'm with my partner. It's like conversations over a pipe as we're sitting there, and he's telling me about this motorcycle shop and about like a car went through this back wall. You can get inside. You drop down this little alley. You go down this alley, and there's not an alley, but like a little reservoir or wash or whatever, and pop up, and it pops up right by you. You can cut the fence, get inside, and so I heard his whole get down, and it sort of just registered to me. I was out doing my thing. He's like, man, you gotta wait for me. And I was like, I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you, buddy. And I had court the next day. I couldn't wait for him, dude. And I'm with my partner, and it's like getting nighttime, and we're in that area. And I went by, and I told my partner to stop, and I got out, and I ran down the wash, and I popped up by this shop, and it was all open, dude. And I went back, and I got him, and we went, and I'm gonna tell you what I did is that since it was like on the back side of a residential neighborhood, and on the front side was like in the main street, that we came in through a residential area, and I knew that if anybody heard a motorcycle start or anything like at night, that for sure it'd be I get caught. And so it was nothing like courageous, man, because it was all spur of the moment. It was all with a 1989 Honda Excel and a piece of rope, dude. And I'm a big guy, dude. I've done prison, so like I probably had 40 pounds more on me than I have right now. And I like literally in some cases, if I was on enough drugs and stuff, I could literally just pick up a motorcycle and put it over my head. But I go in the backside of the shop, and I go through it, and I pull out this motorcycle, and I walk it out, and then I sold enough drugs in the neighborhoods and stuff that I knew a lot of people that I would just take their garage, and I put 5 bikes. Same thing, dude. It's like 5 bikes in this garage, 5 bikes in this garage. And I'm gonna tell you this, man. The best thing was this, man. It was like I was there. I must have took 25, 30 motorcycles, dude. Everything you can think of, from dirt bikes to street bikes, and I took them one by one. And I walked it all the way out, and I tied a piece of rope around the handlebars, and he towed me to this house, and I key it, bike in neutral type thing. And as the sun was coming up, man, this one bike in there had gas in it, dude. And I was like, I'm gonna ride this one, right? And because the guy that told me about the lick was like, I want that 500, I want that motorcycle. And I was like, all right, cool, man. So the very end, this bike had gas in it, and I might, instead of going through the neighborhood, I might go to the main street, and when we get on the main street, I'm gonna pop it in gear, and I'm gonna go, and I'll meet you over at night. I got this brand new helmet on, and man, dude, he pulled me, the bike immediately started. Bam, I'm on the main street. It's like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning and I took off down the street on this bike on a full-on wheelie. I lost it, dude. And the bike flipped out from under me, dude. And it fucking slid, and I got back up. I ran over to the bike. I hopped back on it. I kick-started it, and I took off. And there was an alleyway going right next to our bowling alley. It was like this little bicycle ride. I remember I went from the main street on Sierra Highway down this little bike alley, and I cut over, and then I cut through the main street over the field, and I remember being on top of this place we called Quartzo Mountain, and it sort of was like looking out over the whole little neighborhood right there, and I see like a patrol car going to the right, and I showed up over to so I knew it. I went down the hill and over the street and through the neighborhoods right there, and I showed up to I had court this morning. I got to be at court, man, at 8 a.m. and I arrived at my buddy's house, man, and I get there. It must have been like 6:30 or something. Like it's 7 o'clock, man, and it's 7:30, man, and I pull up on it. My buddy is already at the house in the car, and I pull up on this dirt bike, dude, and I'm like, here, I got you. This is for you, man. And he's like, you did it without me, and I went to court that morning, dude, and so that's how it went.
Were you messed up from
dude, that was the greatest rush ever, dude. Like you just pulled 27 motorcycles out of a spot. You have them all over the place, right? And then that final one, that's like I said, that horizon, that the sun's coming up, and like you're not supposed to be on the road. I'm on a two-stroke motorcycle, bro. Like that rush that morning was like ultimate, man. Ultimate, dude. The look on my friend's face that morning was not too impressive.
So how do you end up selling those motorcycles?
I got busted in every single one of those. I got busted, and when they hit my house, I had 27 motorcycles, 10 cars. I had a full-on chop shop going on in the garage. I had trunks full of methamphetamine, rockers, beakers, burners, hoses. I had a fetish with all these swap meet blankets with all the things like the elephants, giraffes, and all that. I had every single one, the tigers, the lions, giraffes, like all these like swap meet blankets like this. I don't know why. It was just like guys I had multiple tubes of all kinds of tools and all this kinds of stuff. And I'm gonna tell you, when they hit my house that morning, they took all that stuff, dude. What happened is I got arrested, and I remember this. I was on my motorcycle. I'm $1 million bail. I'm on my motorcycle. I'm fighting my case. I'm losing everything, and they're coming in. And I once again I threatened somebody, and the cops were at my door, and I'm holding my dog back because I just remember sitting there, and like my dog's like, they're going, we're going to shoot your dog. We're going to shoot your dog. And I'm like, don't shoot my dog, please. Just let her get in the car with me. And then I remember like this, I parked like 2 of my cars and a couple of my trucks on the other side of the street. And I was on my motorcycle that morning, and on that motorcycle this morning, and I called my buddy, it's a guy named Phil, man. I met Phil through some bad drug deals, but his phone number was the only number I could remember. And I called Phil, and I was like, Phil, man, you don't know me, and I really don't know you. Like, and I'm getting my one free phone call right now, and I know I'm doing time. Like, I know for a fact I'm going to jail. And I called Phil, and I was like, man, can you go grab my street bike that's on the other side of the street? And the trunk that's laying in my yard, I had like a chest, and that chest was a lab. It was just everything was laid in there. Beaker, 712 beaker, 14 flask, and And this guy went and he grabbed 2 of my motorcycles, one of my vehicles, and that chest, man, and a couple bags of those blankets, dude. And I was inside for I did a few years, and all the rest of that stuff, charge it to the game, you know.
When you were building the labs, were you said you're renting houses, renting them in your name?
No, never. Nothing was never in my name. Yeah, this you get girl. I honestly like your girl. It be a house with a realtor box on it. It'd be like a girl. It just be like a just random houses out there. Just I don't even know. Like
you have some. He's saying you have some girl rent the house for you.
Yeah,
some guy that owes you money.
Somebody. It'd be in somebody else's name, and they get the house for you.
Happens when didn't you say like you're experimenting and like things go wrong?
Off to the next one.
What happens to the person who's running the house? Like it's under their name.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I never found out. Yeah, I know. There was times that I go into a house and I blew that out. I rebuild it and I blow it up again, and then by the time I got done with those houses be so. I mean, multiple houses I go into these nice neighborhoods and you get these because I figured the better the car I had and the better the house I had, the better the chance off I'm not going to get busted. But by the time I got done with that car and that house in that neighborhood, it was your local trap house. It was your house. Like I wouldn't even be on that side of town. Or I go there for a month and maybe 2 weeks. And it only took me 5 days tops to do what I needed to do at this house. And by the time I got done with that, like that house would be like, I never want to go to that house again. I go to a different house, and then I go to a different house. Then I go to a different house.
What's your Instagram?
My Instagram is Garet McLendon. It's nothing, no handle, nothing. It's just my name. If you can go out, if you watch this video, go follow me. If you need help in a treatment or something like that, you can follow me and hit me up, man. Trying to build up that following, followers on my IG. It's just Garet McLendon, Garet. It's 1 R and 1 T. And if anybody out there and they're listening to a podcast or know somebody that's connected to a podcast you think I'd be good on, man, let me know. I'll come out and speak on it too.
Hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do me a favor, hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you get notified of videos like this. Also, we're going to leave the Instagram link in the description box. Really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much. See ya.